Alright, here we go, actors are in. Roll cameras, roll sound, and action!
Okay, send him in.
And release the shark.
What is the Reef?
Well, The Reef is a comedy set in the outback. I'm joking, sorry. No, The Reef is a harrowing shark-based thriller.
The Reef is what I call a survival thriller. It's based on a true story.
Story about a bunch of friends who get themselves into a very difficult situation and have to make a decision.
What is the Reef? It has a lot of spills and chills associated with the creatures in the deep, i.e. a shark.
There's 4 people in the water and a big shark is going to eat them.
I'm very scared of sharks.
The Reef is the Reef, just is.
Here we are on our upturned boat. The hull, the keel's broken off. And we're filming all day today, so this is the moment after we've all got up on the boat and deciding whether we're going to stay on the boat or go, and no one knows quite what to do. But right now in between takes, it's the perfect time to have a cuppa and just a bit of a sit down.
And it's about some people who set out on a holiday on a yacht, and unfortunately their yacht gets turned over, and then they've got to make the decision of whether they'll stay with the boat or try and swim to what they think is nearby land.
And we all know what lurks in those waters.
Reading a lot about survival situations, you realise that there's often a big moment where you've got to try and decide whether you should stay or whether you should go. And that's a very difficult thing to do, because usually staying is a bad idea and going is a bad idea. Inevitably, when I'm in a film like that, I'm just going, what would I do? What would I do? And I'm hoping the audience of The Reef will think the same thing.
It's an argument of survival. Which way is the best way of survival? And sitting as an audience member, what would I do in that situation?
Would you swim or would you stay with the boat? And my character's position, I suppose, is it's a bit like, you know, you never leave your vehicle if you break down in the desert. That's how he views the situation, and he knows these waters and he knows what's out there.
Try that.
Thanks, mate.
What was the matter?
You look like a seal in that. Sharks love seals.
Mate, you don't want to come, that's your business. Don't go scaring everyone else, all right?
Maybe we should wait.
Okay, it's your choice. Look, I know this is a difficult decision, but it's really easy not to get found out here. This boat's gonna sink, and it's gonna sink soon. There's land over there, and that's where I think we should be going. This is our second film together, Andrew Truckee and myself. We first came together on a picture he made called Black Water, and we've followed this up by coming together on The Reef. Andrew has the ability to write these, what I call these genre thrill scripts. He has the ability in his writing to be able to lull audiences into a sense of security and then suddenly introduce a scare and then move back into sort of this safe world. And he builds this up in a pitch, so the scripts have this definite sort of roller coaster ride. And knowing the scripts as well as he does, he's then able to translate it to his directing.
So actually, I got the shark book, or my wife's got the shark book, and I saw this amazing story in the book about these 3 people that left a trawler and they were stalked by a shark. It just really stayed with me, haunted me. I thought of the horror of being stalked by this shark, and I just thought, if a story can stay with you that long, it must have some potential, and so I decided I'd write a script about it. It's a story of love between Kate and Luke, the main sort of characters in the film, and it's all about what, you know, people realise they should be together and they're this lovely couple, but they're not, because they've got all these their own problems, and it's about them trying to resolve that and whether they can do that. So I quite like that dimension of the film, because for me it gives it a great piece of character development. The Reef is really a 5-hander, so you need a really fantastic cast, because 5 people are going to be what you're watching for the whole film. I made it very obvious very quickly that it was all in water. They were going to have to be very fit, and there was going to be a lot of swimming. And some people actually dropped out at that point because they knew they couldn't do that. But luckily the 5 that we stayed with were all very fit, healthy, young Australians. When I'm, doing casting, I'm looking for actors who've got the right vibe, but also an intelligence, who understand, who want to play the part, who want to do something with it and mould it into their own character. And I was really lucky to find 5 people that wanted to do that. I'm really, really thankful I got Damien, because he's a wonderful actor. He knows how to finesse things beautifully, and once you've got it down, he'll give you something that's just nuanced another way. And he's just, a thoroughbred really. He's a great, great actor.
Walshe-Howling is definitely one of the most focused actors I've ever worked with. He's incredibly committed to this role. I know he did a lot of preparation and training for the role prior to coming up.
Working with Damo has been fantastic. He's a bit older than me, and he's been like a big brother to me a lot, but also just on this shoot he's been really available as someone to get advice off, and if I'm not too sure about a scene or how to play a certain moment, then he's always there with an offer, and he's always aware of what we need.
You see any land, Luke?
I see no land.
Any land, Luke?
Yeah. No, we're saying
let's go.
Zoe came into the casting and she had her Ugg boots on and she was totally unprepared. She hadn't read the script.
So I went in there, my Ugg boots, no makeup on, I had no clothes, honestly, and I was so embarrassed. I just said, I'm so sorry, Andrew, I haven't even finished reading your script.
Zoe's greatest strength is she does put so much into the role. She does study so much and research and get right into it in a really strong way.
15 seconds of you guys
She looks good, she carries herself well, and there's a strong inner presence in her that comes through in the story.
She just felt so right against Damien. They felt like a really good, strong couple.
It's interesting, when I first met Zoe, there was just an instant warmth between us.
And so I just thought, yeah, look, this is obviously the person that has to be in my film.
To prepare for this role, I watched a lot of thrillers, I read a lot of survival stories, I upped the swimming a bit, I definitely did a bit more yoga meditation just to remain centred, and then just came to work. Look!
I play Matt, who is Kate's brother. Matt's a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. He's got some horrible jokes, which I can kind of relate to myself because I have horrible jokes too.
Guyton was an obvious choice for Matt because he's just, he's got such a big personality. He's just fun, and he's a huge Aussie guy. He's got that relaxed state, but when he's on, he's really on, and he hit his marks, and he did everything, and he give it to you various ways. And so he's a wonderful actor, a wonderful performer, and just it was a pleasure.
He's incredibly positive, he's always joking, he's always friendly, he's incredibly polite, and he's one of our best actors.
He's a consummate actor. I mean, the guy's just, he really is, he's very present when you're working with him, and we just have a ball together. We're good mates.
I play the role of Susie. The love of her life is Matt, and they've kind of come home from England. They're expats living in England now, and they come home to have a holiday around the Reef.
Susie and Matt are obviously a couple, and they're this incredibly loving couple that are the contrast to Kate and Luke, who are going through all their problems. So you needed a couple of people that were going to really look good together and feel like they loved each other, and Guyton and Adrian were just perfect like that. They just from the day one, you really believe they were a couple.
She's someone who we have enormous faith in.
I've really enjoyed working with Adrian. She's got a really big career ahead of her, I feel. I just, I don't know, it's one of those things. I just think she's a really powerful actress.
The character I play is a local fisherman called Warren. knows the waters in this region very, very well. He's been fishing here for many, many years.
Kieran is the quintessential Australian fisherman bloke guy, and who else would you cast for that role? He was just absolutely perfect, and he nailed it. And you know, everyone I've shown the film to has gone, oh, I love Wazza, I love Warren. He's such an Aussie guy, and it's true. He just totally nailed it. There was just no, you know, I thought of Kieran, and there was no need to look any further because he was right, and I'm so happy he was available to do the role. He was perfect.
It's such a joy to come to work every day and just have a laugh and work together and try and create an amazing piece of drama. Here's Aquaman. Looks like a seal, acts like a man. Aquaman.
Cast were really, really wonderful. I mean, in the whole rehearsal period, they gave their all. They really put themselves into it. And this was a really tough shoot, being in the water for as long as it was. And the whole time, you know, they just went through it and just kept on marching, and they were just brilliant. And you know, it was hard. It's complex emotions they're having to portray for the camera, and I just have nothing but gratitude and thanks to them.
Okay, so my shark story, I was surfing at Crescent Head. It was New Year's Day, and I was the only one in the water with one other person, and I just felt a little bit wrong. Anyway, lo and behold, about 100 metres, just go, oh my god, I absolutely shat myself. I was out of there like that. I've never swam and paddled so hard in my life. I don't know if it was a dolphin or a shark, but I didn't wait to find out.
I've seen plenty of sharks surfing. They're always there. You can feel you're being watched sometimes. It's their domain. It's their home. We're just visitors.
I don't have any personal shark stories, and I hope never to have any personal shark stories. I'm just really scared of them.
You know, I was a bit scared to do this job after catching them being in the water, because I know what they can do to you. So we're in the water with the cameras, with the sharks. So everyone's the audience, everyone's in the same environment, so they'll be feeling the same tension.
Okay, and cut. It's important to me as a director that you feel that the threat that the hero and all the cast are under is very real and truthful. So with that in mind, we wanted to use real sharks. We didn't want to just use animatronics. It was a matter of then thinking, well, can we do this? Can we really get real sharks into our film? And luckily, we live in Australia, which is the home of the shark almost. You know, there's been more shark attacks here, I think, than anywhere else in the world. At the end of the day, this is a film that's all about reality and all about what you would do in this sort of situation. So we wanted to use real sharks. So we worked out that probably the best place to get this footage would be down in South Australia, in a place called Port Lincoln. And off Port Lincoln, about 2 hours by boat through heavy, big seas. There's these two little islands called the Neptune Islands, which is a favourite sort of hunting ground for the great white, because there's a lot of seals on these islands and they have to swim between them, and when they do, they've got a good chance of getting picked off. Filming the white pointers, though, is like any animal in the wild. They're wild animals, so they don't do what you want them to do. So it's like war. You're sitting around, nothing's happening, then all of a sudden, bang, they've taken the bait, they're there, you've got to try and get your footage while you can. It was very, very difficult to actually get these animals to do anything that I wanted. I mean, at least they were appearing, at least they turned up on the day, or the 4 or 5 days they're out there, but it was impossible to guide their motion, so really we had to just go what they were doing and try and get the footage that way. We had a cameraman in a cage, which was great. But by the time the shark would come along and show itself and the cameraman would get in the cage, you know, half of it was gone. So I also devised this thing which was a lippy cam, a small camera that we put in a water housing. It was only about this big. And I had that on a pole, and so as soon as the shark arrived, I could just go to the edge of the boat and put it under straight away, rather than like the diver who had to get all his gear and jump into the cage and start filming. I was there minutes before he was, and using that system, we sort of got a lot more footage than we would have, which was a fantastic thing. So one time, this big shark came in, and I went, wow, this is fantastic. I grabbed the lippy, stuck it over the side, and I got it in frame pretty quickly. And so I was pretty happy, and it was going around behind the boat, went past the diver, and I thought, I'm going to reframe so I can get it when it sweeps around the boat and I'll get a good shot. And the next thing I knew, whack, it took the camera, and you see this amazing thing where you just see teeth going up into the sky, because it's me trying to rip the camera out of the shark's mouth. And luckily I got it out of the mouth, and you know, that was an amazing shot. It did wreck the housing a little, but it's amazing because those teeth, they're just more sharp. It was more about the sharpness rather than the pressure of the bite, so it didn't totally destroy the housing. He just had a nibble, I think. So, but that was a scary moment. they're amazing hunters, which is, in the reef is what I tried to capture, and I think I have managed to do, is the fact that 1 minute they're there and then the next minute they're gone, and they're such powerful swimmers, they can be close and then they're far away, and you really don't know if they're coming or not. Like with the filming, 1 minute the bait seemed totally fine, next bang, they were there. I mean, because we had cameras underneath, I could see when they were coming from directly beneath, but on board no one else could, and it was just weird. Like, they would just turn up, you'd think they've gone, and bang, they were there. And we spent a lot of time trying to work out, where is that shark, and that's exactly like in the reef, where has that shark got to is really a part of the film, and how it plays into the thriller aspect of, is it here or isn't it?
He's a director who really understands this type of genre. He understands the nuances of taking a storyline along and lulling the audience into a sense of some sort of security, and then hitting them hard with a little sort of fright, and you think, oh, it's the shark, but it's not. It might be a stack of seaweed, or it might be some other thing, and then you'll be taken along a little further again until something else occurs. So he's very good at what I'd call the highs and lows of sort of structure.
He shoots in the real elements, and he brings as much of what people can give organically to the moment.
I think he has a real vision of what he wants, and he knows exactly what shots he needs and how to get us where we need to be for those shots.
And he is very clear about what he's doing, and he shuts down anything that he thinks isn't the movie. This is genre, and he's a guy who understands genre better than anyone I know. He's a freak for genre.
I have to have a lot of respect for Andrew for actually making all of this happen. It's such a massive thing, and I think maybe Andrew's partially crazy for wanting to do that, but I also really respect him.
As you can see, we're in the tropics of Queensland, Hervey Bay, which is about 3-4 hours drive north of Brisbane.
So it looked like open water, and yet we'd only be 4 metres off the beach, so we could just wade in, not have to be boat to boat.
It's pretty crazy when you think about it. I mean, look at this. This is just not your usual set. This is not your usual job. This is not your usual movie. We're in a low-budget film here, so we're working bang, bang so quickly.
I mean, it's quite challenging being this close to the beach, because, you're looking out in front of you, meant to be imagining you're in the middle of nowhere, and there's the sand, and there's the KD, and there's the catering.
Of course, there were hardships for the actors as well, because they had a lot of hardships. They were doing all this swimming all the time, and they got tired, and they got pushed around by the currents, and it was just difficult to find your mark and do everything we had to do, because there was so much movement in this water.
3 days in, Damien steps on a stonefish.
If you look at those tiny little holes in the bottom of my foot there that you can see, might look tiny now, but very painful. I stepped on a stonefish on the 3rd day of shooting, and I've never experienced such excruciating pain. Not to mention the fact that I'd heard at some point that they were the deadliest fish in the world. The thing about working on this film is that there's a really collaborative experience going on, everybody's getting in there, and because the elements are what we're dealing with, then it means that the film relies on every department to actually come together and create the experience. And so we're working in the water at times. We're all sort of scratching our head, how are we going to make this work, and then all of a sudden someone will come up with an idea, and bang, and Andrew goes, yeah, that's a great idea, bang, and we do, we'll do that.
Look, it's a pretty unique set. It's a pretty unique experience in shooting a film. I don't think I'll ever do anything like this ever again, or you just find yourself constantly in the water all day.
First day on set, he doesn't get you not meant to splash the camera.
Well, it looks like we're filming in the most glorious conditions, which we are. The sun is divine, but when you're in the water for 8 hours a day, it is absolutely freezing. You'll see us with these water bottles. We're making love to the hot water bottles at the moment, and space blankets, because it's debilitatingly cold.
When the wind gets on you and you've been in the water all day, it just gets through to your bones. I start to shiver, but I don't feel bad. I just got shivers. Anyway, it's all fun.
It's not your usual job, but somehow we're kind of keeping it together, and it's all flowing quite well, and everyone's really happy. No one's even yelled at anyone yet.
So part of my methodology of making films is to make sure I control the visual effects, because you can't do these sort of films unless you have a high level of visual effects, and yet if you go to the traditional post houses they'll charge you too much. You can't do it at this budget level. So I usually form my own unit, and that works really, really well. And the team is led by a wonderful visual effects director called Doug Bain, and he's been absolutely wonderful. It was important to get the special effects in early, because you really need the shark to work, and that's not going to work if the special effects don't work. So we storyboarded, but then I went down and shot the shark, and of course the footage you bring back is very different to what you storyboarded. So Doug and I had to spend a lot of time just sitting around trying to work out what we could do with the footage we had and how it would actually comp together. And that was really, really important, because that way you could then tell the actors, you've got to do this because your shark's going to be doing this, and that's what informed the entire performance around the shark. But it was a hard edit, because we had footage from all over the place. We had the shark that was shot in South Australia, we had the above water stuff that was shot in Queensland at a place called Hervey Bay, and then we had the underwater stuff that was shot at Lady Elliot Island on the Great Barrier Reef. So trying to put those three areas of footage together, and when you're trying to match continuity, emotional strength and performance, is really, really difficult. Well, this is a thriller, and to me music is so important to the thriller. It's like essential. So when I'm editing, my temp tracks are really important to me, because it's amazing. You drop the music out in the thriller and it's not thrilling anymore, but if you put the music in, the right music, it's incredibly thrilling. So it's very important we get the music right, and I feel really lucky to be working with Raphael May, who worked on my other film Blackwater. He's the composer, because he's got a wonderful ear, and he really brings another dimension to this film.
The Reef is an emotional love story. It's a thriller before it's anything else.
It's just ordinary people in an extraordinary situation.
It's a story about loss and what could have been if we'd followed our hearts.
Love makes the world go round. It makes you feel great. It doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. It makes you feel alive.
I think people should see The Reef, because it's going to be bloody scary. There's 4 people in the water and a big shark that's going to eat them.
The Reefer, yeah!
Being in the water that long, it's hard fare, and the crew just did a wonderful, wonderful job, because it was tough. It was really tough. Everybody worked really amazingly well. I'd like to thank everyone, because it was a great job.
Very nice.
Great work.
And I'm just really happy that it's all come together, and I think we've made a really wonderful film.